Donald Trump's rallies were marred by violence over the weekend ahead of Tuesday's big primaries. He postponed a rally in Chicago Friday night after huge crowds of demonstrators showed up. And that wasn't the only clash. Here's a look at some of the protests that took place in several cities across the country.
Pictures tell the story tonight, and it is an ugly story. Near pandemonium at a Trump rally in Chicago.
This is supposed to be American democracy in action. Instead, what we're seeing is just total chaos.
It seems for the first time the number of protesters equaled that of Trump supporters.
There's so much anger in the country. I mean, it's just anger. I don't think it's directed at me or anything. It's just directed at what's been going on for years.
One of the people arrested as well was a CBS News reporter.
Back up!
Never seen anything like last night. That was unprecedented. At least one police officer, maybe multiple, pulled me down from the back of my hoodie and threw me to the ground and bashed my face into the street.
Tensions are high and security concerns even higher at Donald Trump rallies today in Ohio. A protester attempted to rush the stage.
Cell phone video from the rally outside Dayton shows security hauling the protester away.
He's ISIS related or could be ISIS related. Certainly, he's not in love with our country, that I can tell you.
Republican strategist Frank Luntz is here to talk all about this. I mean, what happened over the weekend is quite stunning. And when you see the images put together back to back, it's really something. Frank, what has gotten things to this point? There had been protesters all along, but this is on another level.
The level of frustration on both sides of the aisle is reaching a boiling point. And as you get closer to a determination, I think the Sanders people realize that their candidate is not going to win. On the right, the Trump people think they are going to win. So that gives them a sense of bravado, gives the left a sense of frustration. And the two of them came to a head in the city that's had more difficulty with protesters than any other city in America. If this was destined to happen, it was destined to happen right now in Chicago, and sure enough it did. But that's not what happened, is not what we should be focused on. It's what will happen in the future. It is getting worse. The anger, the divisions, the disrespect for freedom of speech is getting worse over time, not better. And these candidates, including Donald Trump, have to stand up and say, this is the line, do not cross it. Even the most fervent campaigns over the last 30, 40 years have said to their people, it is not acceptable to be physical. It is not acceptable to shut people down. That's exactly what these candidates need to say.
I'm thinking about, John McCain, when, if you recall, that one time a town hall meeting, I think it was, and a woman got up and suggested that Barack Obama was Muslim, and he took the microphone and he shut her down. We're way past that, though. At this point, do you think we'll ever hear Donald Trump say, okay, that's enough?
Well, he's never, to my knowledge, he's never apologized on anything. He hasn't really moderated anything. He says what he means and means what he says. And so I would not expect that to happen. But there are things that you do as a candidate which are different than what you do as a president. And if he wants to demonstrate that he is truly presidential, then just maybe he needs a different style and a different behavior.
So all along during this campaign, there's been something, many things that have put Donald Trump in the headlines that have been somewhat disturbing. And now we're looking at this violence. Every time we go, this has got to be the thing that sabotages his campaign, and it never does, so I'm not going to say that anymore. Is this the thing, one of the things that helps his campaign? It
helps, but you used the phrase somewhat disturbing. For millions of Americans, it is actually affirming.
Yeah, you're right. And, as I was using the word, I thought not necessarily disturbing, but certainly something that definitely got him headlines. Let's put it that way.
And that's the challenge, which is, how do you cover this? How does the news media report the story rather than becoming the story? And if the media makes their own value judgment and it's against what millions of Americans, because he does have the support of many millions of Americans, then it becomes even harder to solve this. Then it becomes even more difficult.
You mentioned about the media. We're showing producer Sopan Deb right there being arrested in Chicago. You talk about the challenge of covering it without becoming the news, and he found himself becoming the news in the middle of all of that chaos. So if this doesn't damage his campaign, when we get to the general election, though, is it going to be a problem?
Yes, because independents don't want this. Moderate, centrists don't want the yelling, the screaming, these interruptions in life. They just want someone who will get the job done. So So the very thing that will unite Trump supporters around him before the convention is the very thing that will cause him a problem after the convention.
In the meantime, we've got some elections coming up. We have winner-take-all Ohio and Florida. Is it sort of do or die for the anti-Trump camp? If he gets Florida, if he gets Ohio,
it's over.
You can't stop this train, right?
And this is what I don't understand about these super PACs is that they waited until the last 2 weeks to start to dump millions, if not tens of millions, into negative ads. What were they thinking? It will have no impact. Negative advertising takes time to work. All they're doing is weakening him for the general election, and they're having no impact on the primaries.
Yeah, you know what I thought about the negative advertising, too, is they keep sort of hitting the same points over and over again that have not worked so far.
Exactly.
That he's not really a true conservative, and it's not working.
And the thing is, the people who support Donald Trump aren't true conservatives anyway.
Good observation.
These are people who are independents, they're moderate conservatives, they're not strong Republicans. They support him not because he's a Republican, but because of what he says and what he's done. And so they're not going to be impacted by these messages. The only people who are impacted are the media consultants creating them, who themselves are making millions of dollars.
They still have jobs.
And I got to get one of those.
You know, back to Florida and Ohio. You know, Florida looks like it's probably going to go Trump's way. You never know, but right now, in terms of the polls, that's how it looks. But Ohio could kind of be up for grabs. And John Kasich has certainly gotten the endorsement of John Boehner, Mitt Romney. Once again, you know, I wonder, these are your establishment candidates. How much influence do you think they'll really have?
Almost nothing.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'd be advising them to stay out of this. When Mitt Romney, who gave a very effective critique of Donald Trump, and it ended up helping Donald Trump. Up is down, left is right, hot is cold, dogs are cats, I don't know. It's exactly the opposite in this election cycle, and these prognosticators and pundits need to figure that out. And they haven't, which is why Trump continues to lead.
Frank, I'm waiting for your book or something, whatever you're going to do, all the information that you're collecting to explain what's going on
all you have
after
to do,
it's all over.
I'm going to be right in the middle of one of these rallies, so you'll be waiting for me to get beaten up and carted away.
No, we can't have that. We need you here at the desk. All right, Frank Luntz, Republican strategist, thanks a lot.
Thank you.